Namaskar, good evening and welcome to World Today. On the show this evening, we put into perspective Prime Minister Narendra Modi's forthcoming visit to Bangladesh. Today is Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's 101st birth anniversary. Prime Minister Modi said that Bangladesh's founding father is a hero for all Indians as well. And we also look at updates from Myanmar and global updates also on the COVID vaccination drives and case surge. But first, we're going to give you the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says he pays homage to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on his 101st birth anniversary. The Prime Minister says the founding father of Bangladesh is a hero for all Indians as well. The Prime Minister will visit Bangladesh on the 26th and 27th of March to mark 50 years of Bangladesh's independence. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, calls for sustained concrete steps to mitigate impact of climate change. Making a statement on vaccine Maitri in both houses of Parliament, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar asserts supply of vaccines abroad under the initiative is based on assessment of adequate availability in the country and calls it a people-centric diplomacy at work. Europe's medicines regulator has said that there's no indication that the Oxford-AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has caused blood clots, as the list of countries temporarily halting the vaccine's rollout over safety concerns continues to grow. Eight people, 6 of them women of Asian descent, shot dead at a massage parlor and 2-day spas in Atlanta area of the United States. A man suspected of carrying out all the attacks arrested hours later in southern Georgia. Real Madrid and Manchester City reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League. In the round of 16, City beats Mönchengladbach 2-0, while Real Madrid defeats Atlanta 3-1. Let's begin with the top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid homage to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman at the end of the centenary of his birth. The Prime Minister said that the founding father of Bangladesh is a hero for all Indians as well. The Prime Minister will be visiting Bangladesh, as we said, on the 26th and 27th of March. It marks 50 years of Bangladesh's independence.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Bangladesh on 26th and 27th March would be his first visit to a foreign country since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of External Affairs said on Tuesday that it highlights the priority India attaches to Bangladesh. Prime Minister Modi would visit Bangladesh in connection with a commemoration of 3 epochal events: Mujib Borsho, the birth centenary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, 50 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Bangladesh, and 50 years of Bangladesh's liberation war. Wednesday marks the 101st birth anniversary of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Prime Minister Modi paid homage to Bangabandhu on his birth anniversary. He tweeted, I quote, "My heartfelt homage to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, a champion of human rights and freedom, on his birth anniversary. He is a hero for all Indians too. It will be my honor to visit Bangladesh later this month for the historic Mujib Borsho celebrations," unquote. During the visit, Prime Minister Modi would attend the National Day program of Bangladesh on 26th March as the guest of honor. Prime Minister Modi had last visited Bangladesh in 2015. Besides holding bilateral consultations with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister Modi would call on Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid. Bangladesh Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen would call on Prime Minister Modi. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the first shipment of the food products from Bangladesh to India through inland waterways has started. The first shipment of food products exported from Bangladesh to India using the inland waterways left the Pran Industrial Park from Palash in Narsingdi on Tuesday. Bangladesh Minister of State for Shipping Khalid Mahmood Chaudhary flagged off the ship MV Alif Lam Mlim, which in fact will cover a distance of about 710 kilometers to Kolkata in 8 days. Speaking on the occasion, the Bangladesh Shipping Minister Khalid Mahmood Chaudhary said that the government has taken several steps to export goods directly to India using the inland waterways on protocol routes. The protocol for inland water transit and trade was signed between India and Bangladesh in 1972 to connect the two countries through inland waterways. The India-Bangladesh Water Resources Secretary level meeting under the framework of the Joint Rivers Commission took place in New Delhi. The Indian delegation was led by Pankaj Kumar, the Secretary of Water Resources. The Bangladesh delegation was led by Kabir bin Anwar, who is the Senior Secretary, Bangladesh Ministry of Water Resources. Noting that India and Bangladesh share 54 common rivers, which directly impact the livelihood of people in the two countries, both sides commended the close cooperation that exists between India and Bangladesh in the matter. Both sides agreed to schedule the next meeting at the Secretary level under the JRC framework at Dhaka at mutually convenient dates. And we are joined by a distinguished panel now to discuss this. Rajesh Jha, Prasar Bharati correspondent from Dhaka, is joining us, and Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Dhaka, also joins us. They'll discuss threadbare the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Bangladesh, as well as Mujib Bhorsho celebrations in Dhaka. Ambassador Sikri, let me start with you. So we have close ties with Bangladesh. It shares about a 4,000 kilometer border with India, and it's strategically placed between India's northeast and the rest of our country. So trade and transit routes are important, especially now that we're talking about inland waterways. How important is this?
No, this is very important, but first I'd like to put into context the very fact that with Prime Minister's visit to Bangladesh on the 26th of March, we are looking at the celebration of the friendship between India and Bangladesh. And I think you can see how this friendship is first and foremost a people-to-people friendship, and that is how the participation by India in the Mujib Bhorsho, in the celebrations of the birth centenary of father of the nation of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, how it has panned out over the last 1 year. Exactly 1 year ago, on 17th March 2020, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi had delivered a very special message on the occasion of the launch of the Mujib Bhorsho celebrations. And then at that time he had remarked that Bangabandhu is one of the greatest personalities of the last century, and his life is an inspiration to all of us. Yes. And in that spirit, in spreading the message of the life of Bangabandhu, his leadership of Bangladesh, how independence of Bangladesh came about through the efforts of Bangabandhu, we have had a wonderful 1 year of celebrations over the last 1 year. There was a virtual summit between our two prime ministers in December. At that time, a commemorative postage stamp was released in honor of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Yes. And then there was this wonderful Bangabandhu Bapu digital exhibition, which actually was inaugurated in India during the virtual summit. I have seen that exhibition. It's a remarkable tribute to two great leaders, Bapu, the father of the Indian nation, and Bangabandhu, the father of Bangladesh. And in fact, this exhibition brings out in a very dramatic way how the struggle between these two leaders was the same. Even there's a genocide tunnel which shows Jallianwala Bagh on one side and the genocide against the Bangladesh people on the other side. Right. This has really been remarkable, and there is a film now being made, made by the famous director Shyam Benegal on the life of Bangabandhu. I think these are illustrating how this is a celebration at very much a people-to-people level, and how we are bringing out the friendship and spreading this message to all the people. Now, the waterways that you spoke about, this is very much an example of that. In Bangladesh, waterways is a very important means of transportation. And at one time, as much as 70% of the goods were transported on water. But after 1965, the Pakistan-India war, all these waterway connectivities between India and Bangladesh were shut. By road, by train, by waterways, by everything was shut. And now, in the last 5 or 6 years, a great effort has been made to revive it. this will be a great benefit to Bangladesh and to India. In fact, there's a World Bank report released this week, a week or 10 days ago, saying that the connectivity between India and Bangladesh, if you revive and revitalize all the waterways and road and train transportation, this will contribute 17.6% to the GDP of Bangladesh and 7.6% to the GDP of India.
Absolutely.
Because these are environmentally friendly, they cost less, they take less time. This has been a tremendously positive way in which the Bangladesh-India friendship is developing to the benefit of both countries, mutual benefit, mutual trust, and mutual respect.
Indeed. So, Mr. Jha, I mean, Bangladesh, it's not only the bilateral relations. Bangladesh will play an important role in India's Act East policy, in BIMSTEC, in the very fact that Bangladesh is strategically located. You know, I mean, when we talk about the 54 rivers, we've been talking about waterways, but there's also, I mean, land routes that can also be beneficial to both countries and will help in transportation to India's northeast. What's progress has been made with regard to that?
Well, Lynn, as Ma'am Sikri was telling, the connectivity issue between India and Bangladesh is one of the most important issues. Bangladesh is important for India in terms of its connectivity to the northeastern states, but at the same time, if you look at the geographical location of Bangladesh, it is strategically located as a kind of gateway from South Asia into Southeast Asia. Now, Bangladesh has also been keen on expanding its ties with India so far as the connectivity is concerned. Several rail lines which were closed since 1965 have now been opened. Out of 6, 5 have already been opened. The waterways thing that is happening now. Yesterday, the ship, a big consignment of lychee juice was sent from a place near Dhaka, Narsingdi, to Kolkata, a distance of 710 kilometers. And the people who are associated with it say that the cost of sending it is reduced by, say, at least 30%.
Yes.
And people are exploring these possibilities in Bangladesh. Land route is also very important. India is having a couple of places from where the trade is happening, and there are issues that are now being resolved. There are several things that are being done, especially for the inland water communication. Dredging of river is an important thing. At many places, the river channels become full of silt, and the movement of the barge or the ship becomes difficult. So these are some of the issues which have been taken up by the two governments. And last time, when a few weeks back, when External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar was here, he said that for the next 2 decades, the most important issue or the most crucial factor of relations between India and Bangladesh would be the connectivity issue. Now, connectivity between India and Bangladesh will also impact upon the people-to-people ties, and these things are feeding into each other. And the way things are moving, I'm sure the visit of the Prime Minister that is coming up this month, although this is the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh said that he's coming here to take part in celebrations, but visit of Prime Minister is definitely a very important step in the ties between the two countries. And this will give a boost to already robust ties between the two countries. Some people call it Sonali Adhyay, some people call it an example of neighborly relations, and I'm sure this is going to be further strengthened in the coming days after the visit of the Prime Minister.
Ms. Sikri, talking about connectivity, some of the issues that needed to be ironed out were like vehicle agreements, basically that vehicles can travel from one country into another. And not only that, into Nepal and Bhutan as well. So, you know, this is an issue that needs to be ironed out completely before we can see, you know, the full potential of connectivity even moving into Myanmar after that, and then from Myanmar down into the rest of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, well, this connectivity by road is an issue that we've been working on. In fact, the proposal for the motor vehicles agreement was made at the last SAARC summit, but some countries, notably Pakistan, were very reluctant to join. So then the BBIN, the Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Nepal grouping took it up among themselves. And now it is, I think, in the last stages, and Bangladesh, India, and Nepal will be the first 3 countries to start off. The final documents, I think, think, are being discussed for signing. So it should happen very soon. And this will be a great boon because, again, it will further reduce the cost of trade because vehicles can move without stopping and transferring goods to a truck from another country and so on. And that's going to be a big boon. It'll encourage tourism. People can move in the same vehicle. And also, Bangladesh has expressed great interest in joining the trilateral highway, India, Myanmar, Thailand. You know that we are planning between India, Myanmar and Thailand a trilateral highway. And Bangladesh has requested to join, and India is supporting their request to join. And we'll be taking it up with other countries. This too will greatly enhance the connectivity between South and Southeast Asia. And in this, of course, Bangladesh has a key geopolitical situation, a geostrategic location, and it will be of great benefit to all countries because all these countries are around the Bay of Bengal, and it will be a great benefit for trade and people-to-people exchanges. So this will greatly increase the intra-regional collaboration and cooperation between the countries of South and Southeast Asia. You know that in South Asia, this figure is a very low one, the trading among the countries themselves.
Yes.
Whereas other places like European Union or ASEAN, you have a lot of the trade taking place within the grouping.
Yes.
But South Asia, this aspect has been missing, and this connectivity focus will bring that into real highlight and will show how important it is to develop the trade between our countries. And India and Bangladesh are also discussing a CEPA, a comprehensive economic partnership arrangement, and this too will further boost our economic interaction.
Indeed, Mr. Jha, so the potential for trade is extremely good. In fact, India and Bangladesh are already good trading partners. I think Bangladesh is India's largest trading partner in South Asia in this respect. So but of course, let's say there's a large trade deficit against Bangladesh, so that we could probably import number of goods from Bangladesh. Is that a potential that Bangladesh sees India as a market?
Of course, Bangladesh being closest to India and naturally connected to India has great potential in sending so many things from Bangladesh to India. Yesterday, during that inland water shipment of lychee juice, the people who are associated with this industrial house, they were very happy that now with this kind of an inlet into India through the waterways, not only the cost of transportation will be reduced, but when you send things by the road route, there is a greater possibility of things being spoiled. The waterways are much smoother and they provide much security in terms of the non-spoilage of things. So there are multiple ways in which this connectivity will boost, and in fact the gap between the import from India and export to India is too huge. And Bangladesh has been keen to expand it. There are several areas in which these countries can connect, and connectivity is going to, if this BBIN thing, even without Bhutan, comes through, which allows the trucks to move freely from, say, India to Bangladesh to Chattogram port, or from other places into Bangladesh and from Bangladesh into India, that is going to be a major boost to the trade between the two countries, benefiting both. Of course, there is a great potential in Bangladesh to expand its export to India, and India will also have a great access to all the market in the Southeast Asia. So I think it's a win-win situation on which both countries are working, and soon we'll have some positive results, further adding to what we already have.
Ambassador Veena Sikri, are there areas of concern as well, in this relationship that perhaps needed to be ironed out? Perhaps there was also the issue that Bangladesh is participating in BRI, which is the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. To what extent is that an area of concern or caution for India?
No, I think actually Bangladesh's participation in BRI is their own decision, and certainly every country has taken its own decisions. But the projects. When President Xi Jinping visited Bangladesh a few years ago, in 2015, there was a huge announcement of a lot of billions of dollars, close to 48, $50 billion, but nothing much has happened in the last 5 years. Very few projects have taken off. And in fact, the terms of loan that the Chinese government does to various countries is so onerous, it's so high, that countries are scared of indebtedness.
Yes.
And after China has taken over the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, in exchange for the indebtedness that Sri Lanka got into with China, all countries are very apprehensive about going into this situation of indebtedness. So Bangladesh is playing it cool, but certainly they are also interested in connectivity, and I suppose it is because of that they have shown interest in the India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway and other such projects. So I don't think that the BRI in itself is a matter of concern. And after all, how do you reach Bangladesh? You have to reach either through Myanmar or through India.
Yes.
There are many other aspects to be looked at.
Indeed. Some final words from you, Mr. Jha. So the Prime Minister will be visiting, on the 25th, 26th, and 27th. How is this visit being looked at by the people of Bangladesh?
Well, the celebrations have started today. At around 4:30 local time, the celebration has started. The Maldives president has arrived today, and he's taking part in the celebration. Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be the only guest, the chief guest on the concluding day on 26th. And there is a lot of excitement. People in the government, Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen has said that it is a great honor and opportunity for Bangladesh that Prime Minister Modi would be coming over to Bangladesh. And it is no coincidence that after the COVID-19 pandemic, the first country that he is choosing to go to would be Bangladesh. That shows the level of importance that India attaches to Bangladesh. And I must tell you that there is a lot of excitement here about Prime Minister's visit, and people are eagerly awaiting the time when he comes to Dhaka, and is also likely to visit a couple of other places outside Dhaka. So there is no official confirmation as yet about those places.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajesh Jha, as well as Ambassador Veena Sikri. Thanks for being with us, madam. Moving on then to our next story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today addressed the opening ceremony of the International Conference on Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. He did so through a video conference. The Prime Minister of Fiji, Prime Minister of Italy, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, they were present on the occasion. Participants from national governments, experts from international organizations, academic institutions, private sector, they participated in the conference as well. And Prime Minister called for sustained efforts to mitigate the effect of climate change. Let's listen.
We have a looming climate crisis. As the UN Environment Chief recently said, there is no vaccine for the climate crisis. It will take sustained and concentrated efforts to mitigate climate change. We also need to adapt to changes that are already being observed and are affecting communities around the world. In such a context, the importance of the coalition has become even more evident. If we can make our investment in infrastructure resilient, it can be a centerpiece of our wider adoption efforts.
Prime Minister also called for cooperation to ensure the resilience of the global system. The Prime Minister said that infrastructure is developed for the long term, and if we make it resilient, we'll prevent disaster, not only for ourselves, but for many future generations.
Cooperation is a must for ensuring the resilience of the global system. Infrastructure is developed for the long term. If we make it resilient, we will prevent disasters not only for ourselves, but many future generations. When a bridge is lost, a telecom tower falls, power system fails, or when a school is damaged, the loss is not just the direct damage. We should look at losses holistically.
Prime Minister also called for a mass movement on resilient infrastructure, which should not only galvanize energies of experts and also formal institutions, but also the community and the youth.
The notion of resilient infrastructure must become a mass movement, galvanizing the energies of not just the expert and formal institution, but also communities and particularly the youth. A social demand for resilient infrastructure will go a long way in improving compliance to standards.
Prime Minister also said that CDRI must maximize the demonstration effect of the application of technology. The Prime Minister said that in our quest for resilience, no technological system should be considered too basic or too advanced.
At the national and sub-national level, we have to invest in capabilities for integrated planning, structural design, availability of modern materials and a large number of skilled personnel in all infrastructure sectors. There is need for research and development in all these areas. Third, in our quest for the resiliency, no technological system should be considered too basic or too advanced. The CDRI must maximize the demonstration effect of the application of technology.
The United Kingdom's Prime Minister Boris Johnson thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi for hosting the International Conference on Disaster-Resilient Infrastructure. He expressed his gratitude to Prime Minister Modi's leadership in areas including renewable energy. The UK Prime Minister was addressing the opening day of the ICDRI 2021, hosted by the Government of India.
I want to thank Prime Minister Modi for hosting this conference and also for his fantastic leadership in areas such as renewable energy as we continue the fight against climate change. We have a shared vision for a sustainable future for our nations and for the global community, and I very much look forward to discussing this and many other issues with Prime Minister Modi on my upcoming visit to India.
India's vaccine diplomacy has so far been extended to about 70 countries. The Ministry of External Affairs has received several requests for the supply of Indian-manufactured COVID-19 vaccines from various foreign countries. The Ministry of External Affairs has stated that immunization program is being implemented in India as in other countries in a phased manner to cover the healthcare providers, frontline workers and the most vulnerable. Under the Vaccine Maitri program, India continues to supply COVID-19 vaccines to partner countries in a phased manner. The latest to receive Made in India COVID-19 vaccines is Uzbekistan. The External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar tweeted, and I quote, "Extending support to our extended neighborhood, Uzbekistan receives Made in India vaccines." And making a statement on Vaccine Maitri in both Houses of Parliament, the External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar asserted that the supply of vaccines abroad under the initiative is based on the assessment of adequate availability in the country, and he calls it a people-centric diplomacy at work.
That they really want to praise the Vaccine Maitri initiative, except they are going about it in a very roundabout way. So it is done in good spirit. So I take it once again as a very generous compliment of the government's efforts from the other side. Great affirmation of the Make in India program, which this government has pursued so strongly and with such great focus. I think all of us know the enormous efforts that the government has made in actually getting vaccine prices. We have by far the lowest vaccine prices in the world.
Let's now take a look at the update on COVID-19 from across the world. As many as 12,13,90,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19 across the globe so far, and the number of recoveries stands at 9,78,00,000. This deadly virus has claimed more than 26,84,000 lives worldwide. The United States remains the worst affected country from COVID-19. The country has registered more than 3,02,00,000 cases of COVID-19, and the number of deaths in the United States due to the virus has crossed 5,49,000. Here's an update on the battle against COVID from across the world.
Europe's medicine regulator has said there is no indication that the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has caused blood clots, as the list of countries temporarily halts the vaccine's rollout over safety concerns. The European Medical Authority and other international medical agencies have said that the benefits of getting shots into arms outweigh any potential risks. Cyprus, Luxembourg, Latvia and Sweden became the latest European countries to suspend use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Earlier, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Sweden, Belgium, Portugal, Ireland, the Netherlands and Indonesia had also paused the use of AstraZeneca's vaccine as a precautionary measure. Britain's Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has come forward in support of the use of AstraZeneca vaccine, saying that there are no grounds to suspend taking the vaccine or the rollout. Urging people to continue to take the vaccine, Raab said that the UK regulator, the European regulator and the World Health Organization all have said that the AstraZeneca vaccine is safe. Australia has no plans to stop the use of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The country's chief medical officer Paul Kelly has said that any unusual event will be investigated. But as of now, there have been none. The majority of Australia's 25 million people will be administered the AstraZeneca vaccine, and authorities have secured nearly 54 million doses, with 50 million to be produced locally from the end of March. French Prime Minister Jean Castex on Tuesday warned that the country may be facing a sort of third wave of COVID-19 due to emergence of variants, notably the strain first observed in Britain. French lawmakers held a moment of silence during Tuesday's National Assembly session in homage to the 90,762 French people who have died due to coronavirus. Hospitals in France have for the past week been confronted with increased pressure as they have been witnessing a surge in number of intensive care admissions. Top US infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci on Tuesday attempted to dispel myths surrounding the COVID-19 vaccine and to encourage minority communities to get vaccinated at an event with religious leaders at the National Cathedral. Fauci addressed a host of myths about the vaccine, that it can cause sterility and several involving Microsoft founder Bill Gates during his remarks. Health officials in Brazil's most popular state, Sao Paulo, have called on the new health minister to consider imposing a national lockdown as deaths due to coronavirus continue to rise. On Tuesday, Brazil recorded the highest ever daily deaths of 2,841 due to COVID. Brazil has the second highest number of infections and deaths in the world after the US. The World Health Organization has urged countries to be exceptionally careful regarding vaccination certification, as it said vaccines are still inequitably accessible in the world. Governments and developers around the world are exploring the potential use of vaccine passports as a way of reopening the economy by identifying those protected against coronavirus. A Thailand university has said it has trained dogs to sniff out coronavirus with a high success rate. Researchers hope it would become an alternative method to effectively detect patients and those that are asymptomatic. 6 Labradors have been selected to take part in the 6-month pilot project, and so far they have an accuracy rate of 94.8%. The canines were put through the test by identifying virus samples taken from the perspiration of coronavirus positive patients in a spinning wheel.
Some tragic news from the United States. A shooting in Atlanta area of the US has claimed the lives of 8 people, 6 of them women of Asian descent. A man suspected of carrying out all of these attacks was arrested hours later in southern Georgia.
8 people, 6 of them women of Asian descent, were shot dead at a massage parlor and 2 day spas in the Atlanta area of the United States on Tuesday, and a man suspected of carrying out all of the attacks was arrested hours later in southern Georgia. The rampage began at about 5 p.m. when 4 victims were killed and another was injured in a shooting at Young's Asian Massage in Cherokee County, about 40 miles north of Atlanta. 2 women of Asian descent were among the dead, along with a white woman and a white man. Police officers responding to a call of a robbery in progress shortly before 6 p.m. arrived at the beauty spa to find 3 women shot dead. Investigating the initial shooting report, the officers were called to a second spa across the street where a 4th woman was found dead of a gunshot wound. Following the incident, Robert Arong Long of Woodstock in Cherokee County was taken into custody. Investigators say that they were very confident that the same suspect was the gunman in all the 3 shootings. Long was spotted in southern Georgia far from the crime scenes after police in Cherokee County issued an all-points bulletin providing a description and license plate of the getaway vehicle. Long was arrested after a highway pursuit by Georgia State Police and Crisp County Sheriff's deputies, who used a tactical driving maneuver to bring the suspect's vehicle to a halt. World Today Desk, DD India.
Moving on to news from Myanmar now. Well, residents in Yangon, they were building a complex barricade with sharpened bamboo sticks and sandbags amid the ongoing protests and a bloody crackdown on pro-democracy demonstrations. Some were also scattering bricks in the streets to create obstacles for security forces, which is a tactic adopted from Hong Kong protests. So parts of Yangon have been placed under martial law. Thousands of residents have fled to the industrial suburb of Hlangthaya, and also there where security forces there had killed 40 people on Sunday, and Chinese finance factories were set ablaze in that area. So according to the United Nations Food Agency, the political and economic crisis over the February 1st overthrow of Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government, it could force the poor into hunger as food and fuel prices rise in that country. The United Nations Human Rights Office has said that some 37 journalists have been arrested in Myanmar, including 19 who remain in detention, while 5 people have been known to have died in custody. Let's now get your news, the latest developments from Africa. What happened in Africa yesterday? And starting with Libya, the country's new unity government. It took office on Tuesday from the 2 warring administrations that had ruled eastern and western regions, completing a smooth transition of power after a decade of violent chaos. The government over there which emerged from talks involving the United Nations. It was approved last week by the country's long-divided parliament. It is mandated to improve services, unify state institutions, and oversee national elections in December. Save the Children, an NGO charity, says that there is evidence that militants in Mozambique's northern Cabo Delgado have beheaded children as young as 11 amid an escalating insurgency. The grim revelation comes amid the Islamist insurgency linked to Islamic State that has killed thousands and sent hundreds of thousands fleeing their homes in Cabo Delgado in that province there. The aid group's findings are based on interviews with displaced families, including mothers who say that their young sons, they have been killed. So the insurgency has been festering in Cabo Delgado since 2017, but dramatically escalated over the past year. Zitto Kabwe, a Tanzanian opposition leader, has called on the government to make public information about the health of the President John Magufuli. Kabwe has said that the president's health is not supposed to be a secret, and the country's constitution, it calls for the Speaker of the National Assembly to make information about the president's health public. The president has not been seen in public for 2 weeks. There are fears that soaring inflation in Nigeria, combined with rising insecurity, could trigger social unrest. Inflation in Nigeria has hit a 4-year high, according to the government statistics, as food prices have jumped more than 20%. Inflation, which has been in double digits since 2016, was 17.33% in February, driven by the global health crisis, which has contributed to a drop in the price of Nigeria's main export, which is oil. So the figure is the highest it has been since February of 2017, in fact. Let's now take you through some news from across the world in News at a Glance.
Starting with United States, President Joe Biden took his Help is Here tour, touting the $1.9 trillion pandemic relief bill to Chester, Pennsylvania on Tuesday, where he visited a flooring company that has been impacted by the economic downturn. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are traveling around the country for a week with the promise of shots in the arms and money in pockets to promote the American Rescue Plan, which is designed to help the country move past the COVID pandemic. US Vice President Kamala Harris made her debut at the United Nations on Tuesday, telling a meeting on gender equality that democracy fundamentally depends on empowerment of women. Harris, in a video statement to the 65th Commission on the Status of Women, said US would work to improve both. She also said United States President Joe Biden's administration would revitalize Washington's partnership with UN women. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived at Osan Air Base in South Korea on Wednesday following their trip to Japan for talks with Seoul's respective counterparts and officials on regional issues. The trip is in a bid to fortify Washington's alliances in Asia, in a first overseas trip by top-level members of President Joe Biden's administration. Coming to Europe, unveiling his government's so-called integrated review, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Tuesday said that Britain's new foreign and defence policy priorities show how the country will relearn the art of competing against states with opposing values. In the wake of Britain's departure from the European Union, Johnson said the government wanted to strengthen its ties with countries in the Indo-Pacific region. Britain will also deploy more of its armed forces overseas, more often and for longer periods of time, while cybersecurity will also be strengthened. Meanwhile, protesters gathered outside the British Parliament and the London Police headquarters on Tuesday for a fourth day of demonstrations against men's violence and heavy-handed policing in the wake of murder of Londoner Sarah Everard. Protesters chanted, "Sisters United will never be defeated," and held signs reading, "Kill the bill," as green and purple flares filled the air. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy returned to court to face trial for allegedly financing his failed 2012 re-election campaign illegally. The big Malian affair centers on accusations that his party, then known as the UMP, worked with friendly public relations firm to hide the true cost of his re-election bid. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte's Conservatives looked set to come out on top in the general elections as the campaign entered its final hours on Tuesday. The election was specially extended to limit crowding at polling stations, with early voting permitted on Monday and Tuesday. However, principal election candidates voted on Wednesday, with results expected at night. In Russia, authorities have said that they would block Twitter in a month if it doesn't take steps to remove banned content, a move that escalates the Russian government's drawn-out standoff with social media platforms that have played a major role in amplifying dissent in Russia. However, Twitter responded and emphasized its policy of zero tolerance for child sexual exploitation, promotion of suicide and drug sales. Israel on Tuesday announced that it has successfully completed a series of advanced tests of a multi-tiered missile defense system that could hit targets flying at different altitudes, such as cruise missiles or ballistic missiles. The test demonstrates a significant upgrade of the Iron Dome weapon system, which successfully intercepted and destroyed targets. This includes simultaneous interception of multiple UAVs, as well as salvo of rockets and missiles. With the US backing, Israel has over the last decade developed a multi-layer air shield made up of Arrow ballistic missile interceptor. In Lebanon, the pound has lost 90% of its value. There is unrest in the country as protesters burnt tires and blocked roads in Beirut against the Lebanese currency's sharp fall. Market dealers say Lebanese pound was trading at around 15,000 to the dollar. Banks have blocked access to dollar deposits and poverty is spreading. But fractious politicians have yet to launch a rescue plan that could unlock foreign aid. Venezuela this week is rolling out larger denomination banknotes as hyperinflation batters the crisis-stricken South American country's bolivar currency. Bills worth 200,000 bolivars, worth just 10 US cents at the current exchange rate, began to circulate on Monday. Venezuela's central bank said earlier this month it also planned to roll out bills worth 500,000 and 1 million bolivars. In addition to the higher denomination bills, President Nicolas Maduro is seeking to boost digital payments in the face of cash shortage.
And now let's get you some news that is not from the mainstream, and it's neither from the sidelines. Just take a look at some stories that are beyond the headlines. Paintings by Pablo Picasso, René Magritte and Joan Miro, as well as Bansky's tribute to Britain's National Health Service, are among a selection of artworks going under the hammer this month, including Picasso's Femme Noire Cauchy or Codière, portrait by Spanish artist Femme Assisi dans un fauteuil noir, self-portrait by Jean-Michel Basquiat, Amadeo Modigliani's Portrait du photographe Delevsky, and Andy Warhol's 3 self-portraits. René Magritte's La Moi des Vendanges. The auction is all set to be held in London on March 23. Residents of Toulon, a small town in Irkutsk region, over 3,800 kilometers away from Moscow, received their first shots of Sputnik V vaccine on board a special medical train. The train is making a trip around remote regions of the country which are difficult to reach by road, and is planned to stop at 15 stations in the Irkutsk region. Over the past 10 years, the train has made more than 100 trips, providing medical care for more than 135,000 people. The train will make a return trip in 3 weeks to provide people with their second vaccination. Chelyabinsk resident Antov Mashukov walked his pet geese in the downtown of Russian Ural city of Chelyabinsk, located about 1,500 kilometers from Moscow. Mashukov has 3 grown-up geese in his apartment, 2 girls, Masha and Dasha, and a boy, Yasha. Every day, he walks his pets for several hours along the city streets where residents can pet them and take photos. The geese have their own 18 square meters room and eat almost the same as Mashukov himself: vegetables, fruits, bread, and even pasta. Mashukov taught his pets to react to his commands. Geese used to sit down, hold, and fly by his command. Crimean powerlifter Jamzid Ismataliyev set a Russian record on Tuesday for pulling a 31.5-ton amphibian aircraft over a distance of a meter at a military base near Sevastopol. Ismataliyev suffered injuries during his first attempt earlier in the day when he managed to pull the plane tethered to his waist for 31 centimeters. With the 4th attempt on Tuesday, Ismataliyev pulled the plane to 1 meter and 12 centimeters in 40 seconds. The record was confirmed by representatives of the Record Book of Russia. We humans may be tiring of video calls, but chimps at 2 Czech zoos are just starting to enjoy their new live online link-up. To make up for the lack of interaction with visitors in the country's coronavirus lockdown, the chimpanzees at Safari Park Dvor Kralov and the troop at a zoo in Borno can now watch one another's daily lives on giant screens. The video conferences are aired on the Safari Park's website and will run daily until the end of March, when keepers will evaluate whether they should continue. The whirring sound of a chainsaw fills the air and a dead longan crashes to the ground under the watchful eye of wood craftsman Richie Wong. Wong's non-profit organization HK Timber Bank collects dead trees and turns them into one-of-a-kind furniture and household products for Hong Kong residents to enjoy. Last year they collected 300 tons of trees to recycle. Most of this would have ended up in a landfill had it not been for Wong's efforts, as such trees are usually deemed infested with insects or rot. Now local farmers, arborists, working with private enterprises and government departments call on the group to come collect the tree waste whenever they spot any fallen trees or dying trees which need to be chopped down. Here it is, the truffle, a blessing from God. Zara Buher carefully digs out a desert truffle from the sandy earth and shows it off between her calloused fingers. Rain came and then thunder, bringing truffles up to the surface, said the 72-year-old woman, braving the harsh weather of Iraq's southern desert, as well as left behind landmines. Boher and her family of 7 have spent weeks hunting for seasonal truffles that have provided them with an income for generations. With Iraq's economy in crisis, the local variety are a big help to Boher and her family. Modundo, a Kenya-based audio streaming platform, has attracted 90,000 musicians and millions of users, but it could also face competition as international music has started focusing on the continent. For many artists, making music is one thing, making money another. But one Africa-focused streaming platform could provide the answer. At a recording studio in Nairobi, Kenyan musician Niviri can check how his music is doing on Madundo. The site is free to users and makes money through advertising. Naviri is one of 90,000 African artists who have signed up. Manchester City moved into the Champions League quarter-finals for the fourth successive season by completing a comprehensive aggregate victory over Borussia and leading 2-0 after the first leg. The Premier League leaders, they extended their overall advantage after only 12 minutes on the last 16-second leg tie through Kevin De Bruyne's excellent 20-yard left-footed strike. 6 minutes later, City scored again. This is as LK Gundogan scored, and with the goal completing a 4-0 aggregate win. The start of the badminton's prestigious All England Championship, the Badminton Championship, it was delayed for several hours after a number of players had tested positive, or they were inconclusive, in fact, their tests, COVID-19 test results. The Super 5000 tournament, it features the return to the circuit of Japan's world number 1, Kento Momoto, as well as, this is after he was injured in a crash last year, and will start at 2 p.m. today. It was going to start at 2 p.m. rather than at 9 a.m. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had tweeted on the 12th of March that a charka will be installed near the Magan Nivas at Sabarmati Ashram. It will rotate full circle with each tweet related to Atmanirbharta or self-reliance, and it shall become a catalyst for a people's movement. I was there, in fact, in Sabarmati Ashram around this time last week, and let me see, I put this into perspective for you. The charka was a key symbol of the Indian national movement. It symbolized self-reliance and the regeneration of the Indian economy. By its very nature, the spinning wheel is at the core of a churning process that generates thread, used to piece things together and are woven together into the fabric of society. Gandhiji used the charka to weave the national movement into a mass movement. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged a renewed mass movement towards India's rapid economic growth based on self-reliance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has once again put the charka at the center of India's transformation with the tweet campaign. The pillars of freedom struggle, ideas, achievement, action and resolve. The charka will continue to spin India forward. In the digital social media age, Prime Minister Modi has chosen a unique way of making the iconic charka a thread that links the present generation with the past.
The real thinking behind this is like connecting this generation, like the newer, younger generation, which is more inclined towards digital media, and the older generation, which was like Bapu's generation, so the thinking behind this is like connecting those two generations by digital and like more traditional ways towards a grand cause, that is Make in India.
To comprehend the inner meaning of the charka, one needs to understand the principles of spinning and its impact on the mind, on focus and concentration. It was a way in which Gandhiji understood and connected with the masses.
जब ये व्हील घूमेगा, आपके अंदर भगवान के नाम का स्मरण चलेगा. वो कहते थे कि ये चरखा अगर चल रहा है और आपका अंदर का चक्र शुरू नहीं हुआ, तो इसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं है.
The charka has no complex mechanisms. It has no ball bearings, and while it led to production by the masses as opposed to mass production, Gandhiji posed a challenge to invent different kinds of charkas with a prize money of 5,000 rupees in 1920-21, which led to several new innovations in the charka, not unlike the innovation challenges posed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi today.
Gandhiji declared one prize also, 5,000 rupees. So 34 new versions came afterwards. And Gandhiji spread in all villages charkha, and so people got employment. Nobody should live without bread. That was Gandhiji's main motto. So he started charkha movement.
In time, khadi developed to meet the growing demand with mass production. but khadi will always have a deeper significance.
Ekambarnath, one of the person from south, he invented one charkha called Ambar Charkha, so which has multi-spindles, 8 spindles, 12 spindles, 24 spindles also charkha were invented after Gandhiji's death, after independence. Khadi is not only a cloth, it's a thought.
While the charkha was at the center of the flag of the Indian national movement, its principles remain intact in the Ashok Chakra that is at the center of the national flag. Resistance and self-reliance evolving into respect for the wheel of law. The charkha, in the words of Margaret Burke, illustrates a major tenet of Gandhiji. Individually considered, man is insignificant, like a drop of water, but in the mass he becomes mighty and powerful like the ocean. The lessons of the charkha continue to inspire Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is symbolic of resistance, of revolution, and also of mass production, because Gandhiji had called this instrument as the machine of the proletariat. With cameraman Mohit Joshi, this is Mark Lin, DD India from Gandhi Ashram in Ahmedabad. Well, let's now turn the pages of history and see what major events took place on this day, today in history.
On 17th March 1920, the first president of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was born in Tungipara, which is now in Bangladesh. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is also known as the founding father of Bangladesh. Mujibur took tighter control and assumed the presidency of the country in January 1975. Popularly referred to as Bangabandhu or the friend of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was one of the tallest leaders of Bangladesh. It was on this day in 1957, British European Airways withdrew their fleet of Viscount 701s from service. The withdrawal came after one of the airplanes crashed at Manchester, killing 22 people. The crash was the first since the aircraft was introduced 4 years ago. In the year 1969, on this day, Golda Meir became the 4th Prime Minister of Israel. She was the first woman to hold the post. On 17th March 1996, Sri Lanka defeated Australia in the ICC World Cup by 7 wickets. The match was played at Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore. It was Sri Lanka's first ever World Cup win, and cricketer Arvind De Silva scored an unbeaten 107 off 124 balls. On this day in 2011, the UN Security Council voted to authorize military action to protect civilians and impose a no-fly zone over Libya. 10 countries voted in favor. World Today Desk, DD India.
And that's all we have for you in World Today. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.